consequences of the austerity agenda are pretty obvious. They're in Europe, where they're being imposed more strictly, they're devastating the societies. You know, these are rich societies. They're increasing debt as anticipated. They're creating a huge number of unemployed. In the United States, which is in this case more progressive than Europe, they're being applied, but less rigorously, and they're having a milder version of the same effects. It's not because people want it. So like in the United States, for example, where there's plenty of polls, the general population considers the main problem to be unemployment, not deficit. And they're right. In fact, the deficit's probably a good idea right now. It's a stimulus to the economy, and it's a way to create more jobs. Even the IMF is coming around to accept this. So who wants austerity? Well, bankers, rich people, the people who run the world. They want austerity. One reason is, they're concerned, they're lenders, so they're concerned that maybe somewhere down the road, invisible now, there might be inflation, which is bad for people who lend and good for people who borrow, so they don't want to take that chance. The other is that the austerity programs have the nice effect of dismantling the hated welfare state. And that's bipartisan in the United States. Obama's talking about it too. You gotta go after the poor. In fact, take my getting here today. Okay, I flew. Well, there's one part, this sequestration, which is about the deficit, not unemployment, the big problem. It's got a kind of a nuanced character to it. It leaves out rich people. So one of the things that's excluded from the, by congressional decision, from the sequester is air flying. You got to have enough flight controllers so that rich people don't have to wait a little bit when the plane comes. On the other hand, poor people who, let's say, whose kids are being thrown at Head Start and can't get Medicaid, well, minor problem. So it's adjusted, the sequester. And you know who flies. It's not the general population. It's privileged people overwhelmingly. And that's typical. That's the way the country works. And it's the way the public sees things. So there's recent studies came out by good political scientist Ben Page and Larry Bartels, in which they just studied attitudes towards deficit, austerity, and jobs ranked by income level. And it's exactly as you'd predict. The very top of the income scale, the problem is deficits, so we have to have austerity. The rest of the population doesn't agree. And we don't have a functioning democracy. We live in a plutocracy. About roughly 70% of the population, lower 70%, their views have no influence on policy. They're disenfranchised. And you get more influence as you go up the scale. At the very top, that means, 1/10 of 1%, basically get what you want. Well, what they want is, they don't care if kids don't have schools or, don't get Medicaid or don't have Head Start. They want to make profit. And they want to get rid of this annoying welfare state. And it's even said, Mario Draghi is the head of the European Central Bank and has been one of the more forthcoming about trying to do something about the crisis. He had an interview with the Wall Street Journal in which he told the journal that he said the European social contract is dead. Social contract means, the welfare state, one of Europe's great contributions to civilization in the past years. They can now kind of dismantle it. He didn't say he wanted that, he just said that's what's happening. And yeah, that's what's happening.